Now we are restricting your degree of freedom in making hypothesis. So earlier you are of the opinion we can write anything. Now there must be variable 1, variable 2 in the hypothesis. There must be variable 1, variable 2 when you form a sentence, and then there must be no significant. We are not saying they are not different, they are different. I am saying the difference is not significant. No significant. Now what the term you will use? If the both are different, two variables, use the word relation. If you are taking the categories, for example, Times of India and HT, if you are writing like this, the word will be difference here. It's not your choice. So when you write hypothesis, variable 1 should come, variable 2 should come, and you will write there is no significant. Now what next? If they both variables are there, if both are metric, the word will be relation. If one of metric and other is non-metric, you can still use the word relation. But if you use one variable and category of the other variable, compulsory the word difference will come. Otherwise it will be totally misleading. There is no significant difference between sales and newspaper, doesn't make sense. Okay. So when you write objective, now look for what exactly is your objective. The objectives generally start with 2 or something like this. So I told you yesterday objectives are only of 2 types: to investigate, to study, to cogitate, to analyze, all the same. What? Any particular variable. To investigate the awareness level, okay, of what is the context, whose awareness level. So, we will write something of the PhD students of JMI, okay, awareness about what? Now, awareness might be about any particular disease, hepatitis A, B, hepatitis, this may be about the global crisis, it may be about the some new policy. So, about SPSS software. Okay, now it's complete. So if we now look it down, how we make objective, number 1, there is a variable, then there are context, for whom the study will be conducted, where it will be conducted, about what it will be conducted. Well, that's not compulsory, the preferably you should write, otherwise in the limitations you will say the study was conducted only for PhD students. Okay, you can limit it later on, but now it's only the what you are doing, you are just studying, univariate. Now the second question comes, don't jump to the testing etc. Which particular observation, how you will measure it, awareness. So we will say awareness can be measured in terms of, I will ask 3-4 questions, statement 1, statement 2, statement 3, strongly agree to strongly disagree. Now I call it as interval data. I will tell you why I call it as interval data, and it's metric. Now look for this comes out as univariate metric. Univariate metric means table number 1, mean and standard deviation you can apply, only that. So please look for these things: objective, hypothesis testing, test or technique. These are inseparable. You cannot plan them separately. Objective is something else, this is something else, this is something else. Now what will be the objective in this case? Well, sorry, what will be the hypothesis in this case? Any hypothesis, null hypothesis, alternate hypothesis, what is that?
It is assuming that all PhD students, they must have a
Okay, that will be taken as a claim. Your hypothesis is that I assume all the students are highly aware. Only then, if you have a hypothesis, if you have generally it is simply, you remember I told you objectives are of 2 types, one to study and second to find out the relation. Relation means bivariate, no? Bivariate, multivariate. When there is a bivariate or multivariate objective, there must be a hypothesis. Must be. One of my friend yesterday remarked that when if there is a variable and you are not interested, why you are measuring it at all? Correct. It means if you are measuring it two things, so you look for there is a relationship, you know, you are not sure whether the same happens in your target market or not, but you expect it. So there will be always a hypothesis. Here to study, I just want to check your happiness level. I have no idea, are you happy or not happy? No hypothesis. No hypothesis at all. I must have a basis that Vice Chancellor says our scholars are very happy. I will check his claim. It has to be something, you know, in the univariate, I will simply come and measure, that's it. So if you say, if there is a claim or you take anything, but again there need to be some, like she said, people must be aware. Who told it? Who said it? People must be aware. What is the reference? You can't say I think. No, you can't think. You are not supposed to think, right? So there must be any sort of, now write something, it's mentioned that the student must be, in the selection process it's mentioned the student must be aware. On the basis of that I am saying, when they have admitted, it means they are. There must be some basis, any base of any type. So in that case you will say yes, hypothesis is there, and in the univariate, have you noted there is, I have written one sample t test. Check out table number 1, when depend one variable, and that is metric. So basically it's mean, standard deviation. One sample t test will be used only and only when there is a claim. If your was to investigate the awareness level, no one sample t test will be used. That will be used only when you say awareness level has this value and somebody told it, only then one sample. So scholars they misinterpret, means it's always x bar, sigma and one sample t test. No, not always. Only when claim is there. Generally in the univariate objectives there is no hypothesis. You simply want to measure. I want to measure ROA of a company. So I simply download the data, I measured it, that's it. So where is the hypothesis? Why hypothesis is required? So now somebody say, Mr. Arun Jaitley said the growth rate is 6%. Okay, now there is point. I noted down the things, I calculated the growth rate, whatever the standard formulas are there. One is the value, one is the claim 6%. Is there any difference? One sample t test. There one sample t test will come. Are you getting little comfortable with the test, etc.? Yes. Which one to apply where? It's not your sweet will, you apply anything anywhere. So there are always procedures, and these procedures are inseparable. The objective comes with the hypothesis. The way you will measure will decide the test and technique. Now what is the difference between the test and technique? Test word is associated with the difference. Test word always, whatever test, t test, f test, chi-square test, whatever the test is there, it's always aimed to check whether the two things are same, two or more things are same or different. So T is not a technique, T is a test, F is a test, chi-square is a test. Regression is not a test, regression is a technique. So which one is used where? And I have seen this in Viva, PhD Viva, somebody said I had used this T technique, and said, what to say again? T test, no, T technique, and people were not aware that what exactly T test or technique. So it's so simple. If you word difference, the word, if the word there is no significant difference, you will refer to any test. Difference means test, and relation means technique. Regression is a technique. So all my friends of finance, economics, they can endorse it. Whenever you are saying you are comparing the difference between any 2-3 things, only then you use a t test or ANOVA. Else whole of the time you are just working with regression. Regression means there are many variables, you are finding their relation. So where exactly is the correlation? We haven't talked about the correlation. Correlation is one integral part of regression. So that's why I have not taken. You look for, in the bivariate I have written simple regression. Correlation is I have included there, and correlation requires a detailed understanding. Am I clear about it? The word difference and this. So these all things are related.